All right, welcome to our first and who knows, maybe last. I don't know if we will continue. I hope we continue doing these tier list of games that we've played over the past few years. To give a little bit of context, when our first daughter was born, we had a lot of free time. Babies don't really do very much, and they sleep a lot. And we didn't know what to do. We watched a lot of TV. We watched 7 seasons of The West Wing. It became one of our favorite shows of all time. But you can only watch so much TV, and so I was like, "Oh, I'll play some couch co-op games," which is something I didn't really do that much before Maya was born, because Ashley would go watch YouTube videos or listen to K-pop or whatever, and I would go upstairs and play video games on my computer. I'm a big PC gamer. I never played. You'll see this is ordered in the order that we played our games. You have 38 games to review today. We'll see how long this takes and if we do multiple parts. But I saw Red Dead Redemption 2 was on sale, and I was like, I'll play this while we're kind of raising our child when they're sleeping or Ashley's breastfeeding and I don't have anything I can do. Dads are pretty useless for the first few weeks. And so that was kind of the beginning of our console journey. Do you have anything you want to say, Ashley, to add to that?
No.
Let that be noted. And then it became sort of a thing. So all of these games I played or we played together, but Ashley was at least a variety of presents for some of them.
Yes.
Some of them that she was not as into, and we'll talk about them as we go through them. But we thought, like, we created a spreadsheet of all of the different games that we played, and we're like, hey, we should, or I wanted to make a video to create our official reviews and our thoughts, and ultimately a tier list, as you see on the screen. Give a little clarity on my thoughts here of why we have S, A, B, C, and F. I'm very particular about games to play. All these games I would consider like potentially really good games. You know, reviews are subjective. There are very few games here that are just flat out bad, and we'll get to those. It definitely skews towards good games that a lot of people like. So that's why I kind of dropped the D and added the S. Like, for me, this is the way I think about it, and I'm sure, Ashley, you'll have different opinions, and that's fine. S is kind of like favorite games of all time. A is a really, really great game. B is a good game that I would still recommend to people. C is a fun game that has flaws, and F is a bad game. So that's kind of a quick overview of thoughts on that, and we'll kind of review that again as we create this. We haven't talked about any of this beforehand, so I have no idea how things are going to shake out. We will probably disagree, but I think we can come to an agreement on most of these things.
I would agree. And then the only other thing I would add is, when you think about this, I am coming from the perspective of the backseat gamer who didn't play it themselves. So I am much more focused on things like visuals and storytelling, and much less on the gameplay, because I don't actually play the game. So
I think some of these you played, but yes,
most of them I didn't play. So I think that's just worth noting. That's where my opinion's coming from.
All right, to avoid this intro being way too long, we should just go ahead and get started. Yeah, let's start with Red Dead Redemption 2. So this game is like the highest rated game for like both Xbox and PS4. I had never played it. I didn't play Red Dead Redemption 1, but I didn't feel like I needed to enjoy this game.
Didn't we watch a YouTube video of like the story before we played this one?
Yeah, we did. We watched like the story so far.
Right.
On like John Marston and all of those things. But yeah, this is true for all of these games, almost all of these games. There's a few exceptions. I beat all of these games. I very rarely don't beat games. It's just like a serial beater of games. This is a long game. Played it all the way through. Overall, really enjoyed this game. Obviously, high quality game. I think the most expensive game ever made, like budget wise. And it really shows. You know, it's been almost 2 years since we played the game now, but really, really detailed world, really good voice acting, good story. I think, like,
I still remember the story.
Right.
It's just, like, highlights, not every detail.
It says a lot. And this game, I think, because you liked this game, or like watching this game, it was like, oh wow, this was actually kind of fun to watch. I remember you saying, like, it's kind of why I started playing more console games, because it's like, oh, this is a game that, if Ashley liked this game, maybe there's other games that we could start playing together, and she would like watching it. I don't know if there's anything else that you remember from this game that you wanted to say.
No, the visuals were really good. I remember the story was really good and like emotional, and like made me feel things, and which most games don't. And for people that know me in real life, I don't. I'm a serial like robot about a lot of media. I don't find media sad often when it's supposed to be in all of these things. So the fact that this game gave me like an emotional impact was that something? Our horse, you're all right, girl. You know, all the classics from Grand Theft Auto. I'm trying to think where I want to put it.
Yeah. So before we tier it, I do want to say the negatives about this game. So I beat this game, and this game kind of has and to try to avoid too much spoilers, it has an end game state where after you beat it, you can continue playing it, and the world kind of has like the world keeps going. Some games, and we'll talk about this I'm sure with other games, like your final save, if you try to continue playing, it brings you back like right before the final boss, so you can explore the world, because when you beat the final boss, it changes the world so much, it doesn't even make sense. This game isn't that. This game is you beat the game, and then you can keep playing after the story is over, and the world doesn't change too much. That's a funny statement to say for those who have played the game. The second that I got to the end game state, there's like a new area that unlocks in the post game state that I like briefly explored for like 5 minutes, and I turned off the game and never played it again. Like I was not engrossed with this world, as pretty as it was, as detailed as it was. I didn't. Yeah, it was fun while playing. I really like playing poker, and so I like playing poker in this game. But like it didn't really have lasting effects on me as like a really, really good game. Oh, you might be able to hear our baby crying in the background. It's going to be a theme of this. But yeah, my initial thoughts on this would be like a solid B tier. I don't know if it's going to be high or low. We'll need to rank it.
Oh, interesting.
Comparing to other things.
I was debating between S and A, but I don't think it's an S. I think it'd be
it's definitely not an S. You think it's an A. Interesting.
Yeah, I think it can stay there, and we can always shuffle it.
Yeah, my kind of well, we might re-tier things as time goes on, but my thoughts is like B is kind of the default. If we're gonna have
the 3-star, I guess that makes sense.
Yeah, and if we're gonna have a lot of games in B tier, that's okay. And then like try to create a bell curve is what I kind of expect. And the other negative thing I'm gonna say, the reason I don't think it's an S or an A tier game is the gameplay is not that good. Like the shooting isn't anything revolutionary. Like every mission basically boiled down to ride your horse somewhere and shoot people. Even though like the animations and the story and all that was really good, I like my games being complete, and yeah, it is really just Grand Theft Horse. And while I have nostalgia for Grand Theft Auto, I just don't rank it that high. And it's interesting that you thought it was nice just because the story was that good.
Yeah, because the story, like I said, I didn't play the game, right? So it's all about the story for me, and it had a good story.
Yeah, and I think at the end of the day, I ended up playing this game for 70 or 80 hours, which is a lot of time, and I enjoyed it. Like I said, B is still really good in my mind, and I think this might end up high B, but we'll see. The next game is Kingdom Hearts 3. So for those who know Ashley, she's obviously a huge Disney fan. True. I loved the first 2 Kingdom Hearts games. You said you played the original Kingdom Hearts?
I played part of the original Kingdom Hearts, but I'm not good at video games, so I did not get very far.
Yeah, heavy nostalgia. We bought this game, and this is true of almost every game on this list. This game was on sale. I just kind of subscribed to the year or two late philosophy, because most games are heavily discounted after a year. This game was heavily discounted pretty fast because it wasn't that good. And so, but I was very optimistic going in, like, oh man, nostalgia, Disney, this is everything that I would expect for us to enjoy playing. And I think we did enjoy it.
No.
Well, I think we enjoyed parts of it. I'd say, on a whole, it's a bad game.
Yeah, this game is trash. Don't play this game.
Yeah, I can't. Apparently, because I said we bought it, we put on sale pretty fast, and we bought it near the beginning. This would be in like 2019. There's the DLC now, and apparently the DLC fixes a lot of the issues with the gameplay, because the gameplay is horrible. It's a lot of press buttons and lots of things happening, but it's not very engaging. The story is like typical JRPG, but in the worst way.
Kingdom Hearts is like the worst of the worst.
Yeah,
like it doesn't make any sense.
It takes an already convoluted. We watched like a really long, funny description. There's something seductive about the nonsensical stories of JRPGs, and so we watched these really funny stories about a video,
like
YouTube video.
summarizing the plot up
Yeah.
to this point, and you still don't really understand what's happening.
Because they talk about hearts a lot, and like a heart is basically your soul, and it's like, why don't they just say that? I think Kingdom Hearts is among the worst games on this list. I was tempted to call the F tier the Kingdom Hearts tier, because as much as we enjoyed the Disney and the silliness and nostalgia, there's very little to no redeeming qualities of this game.
Yeah.
Which I'm sure most anybody who considered playing this game would agree on. If you like Kingdom Hearts combat, and I did for Kingdom Hearts 2, this game's so much worse than Kingdom Hearts 2 in almost every way. Maybe getting a combo with the DLC is might bump this game up to a C. But
don't play this game.
Actually, you liked the Disney.
Yeah, but like that was not worth the however much we paid for this game.
It was $36 or something, which is a weird sale number.
Yeah, like just for it wasn't even like the good Disney. It was like Toy Story and like Monsters Inc. and like, which is fun, but is not, it's not Nightmare Before Christmas. The worlds weren't even like as good as they were in the original games. But anyway, that's Kingdom Hearts. Don't play it.
We're still pretty early in our console game journey, and there's a turning point, and I'll tell you when we get to that turning point. But at this point, I was still only playing games that were like heavily discounted, and in the past, Ashley and I have played a lot of Telltale games. A game that I maybe would put in S tier is Life is Strange. If it were tier, I'm not going to put it here because we didn't play it in the last 2 years. But Life is Strange is probably my favorite narrative story, choose your own path, kind of, even though you can't really choose your path. Stories are still really good. I really liked Life is Strange. I think you did too.
Yeah, Life is Strange is really good. Also, the Walking Dead Season 1.
Walking Dead Season 1, really loved that.
Good.
We really liked all other games to add to that we both really loved. The Wolf Among Us.
Wolf Among Us was
awesome.
very good.
Tales from Borderlands, also really
surprisingly good.
Yeah, all those really good. And like, I knew those were good. I'm a huge review hawk looking at reviews. I know there's a lot of bad Telltale games. Yeah. Like, I haven't played the Batman one or the Game of Thrones one. I've been tempted because some of them are fine. Even though you loved The Walking Dead, I played The Walking Dead Season 2. Ashley refused to watch it because you were just so emotionally damaged by the first Walking Dead.
I was indeed emotionally damaged by the first Walking Dead, which is why it was so good.
I'm always kind of bitter about that. But as you can see, the next one, Heavy Rain, which is in the same theme of this. This was a PS3 exclusive when it first came out. This is the remastered edition for the PS4. It came bundled with Detroit Becoming Human, which you'll see is 2 down the list. This is also a theme of a lot I did, is whenever I would buy a bunch of similar games, I wouldn't want to play them back to back. So I would kind of tessellate other games in there. You'll see that with the Mario games a lot too. And I felt like we should play Heavy Rain before Detroit Becoming Human. Really, I didn't even really want to play this game. It was just like part of this bundle, and it was like $1 extra to include it. And I was like, sure, let's play it.
Yeah.
This game was kind of lauded as like revolutionary when it first came out on the PS3.
Yeah.
And I think another one of the thematic things about this whole review is going to be that like old games just really don't hold up very well, because as lauded as this, I can't imagine why.
I think it must have been because of the type of game that it was when it came out. Like, the Telltale games were like on PC, or they had done like a Sam & Max, and so there wasn't as much of this type of thing. So this was like a serious, adult like narrative story, and it was just like a joke.
Yeah, I guess a lot of the Telltale games that and the Life is Strange game, which is not Telltale but is also really good. I think you're exactly right. It's just because it was unique at the time, but now so many better games have come out. It looks laughable. This game doesn't do anything well. It's supposed to be a story game. The story is horrible and nonsensical.
Yeah.
There's a whole this is one of the few games on this list that I don't mind spoiling because it's so bad. There's like this whole plot where the main character, one of the main characters, you jump between main characters, there's kind of this teasing that he's like schizophrenic and has multiple personalities. Mm-hmm. And like there's this implication that ends up not being true, that he might be a killer. Like this whole thing's a person gets kidnapped, they're trying to find out who is kidnapping him. And the dad, which is one of the main characters, the implication is that the dad kidnapped his own son, which doesn't make any sense, because he ends up in the rain one day, like in the middle of the night or something, and he can't explain how he got there. Like, oh, maybe I did something and I'm just here. Right. And he's like, oh, there's something up with that. And they never explain that. It's just he just wakes up one night like, okay, he's schizophrenic, weird things are happening, and then it just like that ends up not being part of the story at all.
Yeah. And there's the villain of the story the like motivation for it is hilariously terrible and like doesn't make any sense because this person kills like several people in this game, and then you get to like the backstory and the motivation, and you're like, that's it, that's why. And also, there's a lot of weird, awkward like interactions in this because this is, you know, you're not an action shooter, right? So you're just like walking around rooms and like looking at clues and stuff, and like it's very clunky and weird, and like the voice acting is very bad.
Yeah,
It's not very bad, but like the dad in particular is just like not good. It's just not good.
Like some of the voice acting, some of the acting is good, but not all of it is.
Yeah.
The animations look.
They're old.
They're old.
They
But this
was
a remaster, right? We played this on PS4. I'll say this now. It's kind of a weird place to say it. All these games we played on. Well, these first three were PS4. The main consoles were PS4 and Switch that we used.
Mm-hmm.
And so this was the PS4 remaster of it. But yeah, it's getting those bad games in early. Like looking at this now, I'm surprised we even continued playing games at all because we hit Red Dead Redemption, which was pretty good relative to the other games. You would think it's S tier so far, but we'll get to some S tier games later. But yeah, this is easily F tier, right?
Yeah.
I don't know where I'd put Kingdom Hearts versus Heavy Rain. I think higher. They're so different.
They're so different. I don't know. Just F tier is F tier. It doesn't need to be ranked within it.
Yeah.
Once you're at the bottom, you're at the bottom.
Yeah. And so this is about when we get to when our daughter is 5-ish months old.
Maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, about 5 months old. Maybe almost 6 months old. Halloween comes around. Luigi's Mansion 3 comes out. As much as I really like buying games on sale, Nintendo games never go on sale, and I'm a sucker for Nintendo games. That's going to be another theme about these reviews. Is that
if you haven't noticed already?
Yeah, I'm a huge just a Nintendo fan, and I love their game design. And I wasn't super interested in playing. I never played any of the other Luigi's Mansion, so no nostalgia here.
I didn't play them either.
And I wasn't like super interested in it, but I read reviews of almost every game, and people were talking about a really good co-op. And I was like, oh, this might be a game that I could play with Ashley. And this was also around the time, and this is why I mentioned our daughter was 5 or 6 months, that she started like actually sleeping at night. And so we would play this game after Maya went to bed. And we had some free time, and this was like we suddenly had free time without having to take care of a baby. We're both of us, and it's just like, well, let's play this game. Let's try this out. And it's I'm going to say this over and over about basically every Nintendo game, but like it's just fun.
Yeah, it was really fun. Really good co-op. A lot of the co-op that games, you know, tout to have couch co-op wise is just bad. Like you can't do anything. Like we'll talk about it with Super Mario Galaxy 2, but it's just like you have the girlfriend controller and you can do like nothing in the game, and it's not really a co-op game. You're just sort of like there, and it's probably added in mostly so parents can help their children play the game. But this one was like legitimately a secondary co-op. I was an actual character. I actually had agency and could do things in the game, and some of the stuff I could only do because I was Luigi, and you know the other person couldn't do. And Luigi's Mansion is just like it's a fun little thing because Luigi's so afraid of everything. So like the animations are really fun, and like the plot is like, you know, whatever, it's a Mario game, but it was very fun. I had a really good time playing that game.
Yeah, as you can see on the little icon here, if you're actually watching and not just listening to this, they have Luigi and Luigi. And when you play it in single player mode, you can swap in between the two, because there are things, like you said, that only Luigi can do. But if you have two players, you don't swap. You just
the other person just does it,
which is it works out really, really good, and it makes you feel like an actual player of the game. Also hilariously, because you know you're running around with a vacuum, you can like vacuum each other, which I don't know, it's fun.
There's fun interactions,
and it like, you know, you're not supposed to do that, but it's not a terribly long game, but I actually like it when games are shorter and like there's not a lot of fat here. One thing that you could like 100% the game and go like explore the world. I wasn't interested in exploring.
We got pretty far on that though, because I'm sort of a completionist.
Well, we got most of the things, and then they hide a bunch more ghosts for you after you beat the game. Like, oh, do you want to go back and replay all the levels and find these more hidden ghosts? I really wasn't interested in that, but I was very satisfied when we played this game, and I was like, oh, this game is really good. I don't know if I would super recommend it as a single player mode.
Yeah, I don't know if that would be as fun.
Yeah, but like for co-op, really, really top tier. which makes me want to say this is an A tier game.
Definitely.
Which like A tier is going to kind of become the Nintendo tier, but like we'll see. Yeah, highly recommend as a couples game.
Or play with your roommate, your friend.
Or play your roommate's true. I've only ever played it with my wife, so love Luigi Mansion, particularly as a co-op game. We just talked about a lot of story games with Heavy Rain. The reason I bought Heavy Rain and Detroit Being Human together was because I wanted to play Detroit Being Human because I heard it was really good. Heard it had interesting themes around AI and stuff, which I think it did. This is probably the best game that like tackles AIs and humans. One thing that I'll say before we get into the actual game is that I really hate this idea that if we were going to create a robot AI, that we would make it look like a human. Like that's so impractical. Like we're going to have smart AIs in the future in our lifetime. They're not gonna be in human-esque bodies,
Probably
right?
not.
Like that's the main plot of this game. Robots being in human bodies complicates things so much, and that's like just not how things would be. That's kind of a pet peeve around AI. But okay, let's get past that and assume that like compared to Heavy Rain, this game was
way better,
so significantly better. Does a really interesting job of showing you the like graph of possibilities after each scene.
Oh yeah.
And showing you what percentage of people did what. It almost encourages you to go back and replay scenes just so you can see what the other possibilities are. We felt like dirty doing that. Like we made our choices and that's what it is. But yeah, story wise, acting wise, animation wise, everything so much better than Heavy Rain.
Yeah, the thing that was cool about this, and you can see this on YouTube, is basically this entire game is motion capped with actors. So like it's like a movie basically that they like filmed, which is kind of interesting. I will say the story is incredibly basic though. I don't think it really actually said anything interesting or original about AI. It was pretty, the three storylines were pretty like predictable in terms of what they were going to do and what they were trying to say. Doesn't mean they weren't like enjoyable and had good moments, but I don't think it was a particularly original AI take.
Yeah, I can understand that, mostly because the idea of like, oh, robots gaining sentience, because that's like the key plot here, right? Is that we have these robots that we for some reason made look like humans, and then suddenly they gain free will. How do they gain rights? Yeah, I can mostly agree with that. I think the strong points of this game mostly come out from the individual conversations and interactions. But yeah, the overarching story and like.
I was worried about the characters. I will say that there's moments of peril for the various characters that could end in a bad way because that is how this game works. Stuff could end poorly, and I did care about them. I didn't want them to be killed or whatever.
And based on your choices, the characters totally can die. Part of the reason that the story is basic, I think, is because it has to be flexible enough to have all the characters die. Because you can have it. There's literally an ending in this game where you kill all of the characters, and the game basically, because all the characters are dead, you can't interact with the game anymore, but it just kind of like plays out a movie until the game ends. Like if you only kill one character,
right, you can keep playing the other ones.
You can keep playing the other ones, and that character's plot will just kind of be played as a cutscene, right? I think we saved every character, if I remember.
We did.
Not intentionally, because I don't really know at what moments they can die. And we kind of went for like this is I'm always like
the good ending,
and I'm always a white knight in every game that gives me an option. I really struggle to be the bad guy, but yeah, I was kind of like content with this game. Didn't want to go back and replay the different changes. I felt like we created our own story, and that's the one I wanted to stick with. But yeah, enjoyed it. Watched some of the special features. They have really interesting special features. They have a really interesting survey that you can take in like the settings menu about like what it is to be human and what it is to be a robot. And would recommend that as well. This one's really hard to tier. Definitely not an S tier.
It's not. It's a B tier.
It's a B tier.
It's a B tier.
It's a B tier.
It's not hard. It's B.
It's B? Yeah.
It's behind Red Dead. It's B.
Behind Red Dead, you say? I think I would agree with that. Our next game is Baba Is You. So this is one of the few games that we didn't beat. Maybe the only game?
It's the only one. Well, I mean, Animal Crossing you don't really beat.
That's true.
Yes, it's the only one.
This game is really hard.
It's so hard.
Like,
we were even using like a hint site too to do it. Some of the later ones. It's such a hard game. Very interesting though.
Yeah, I really liked it. It's a small puzzler game. Uh,
But it's like a language puzzle.
yeah.
You're making sentences, and the sentences you make impact the world and like how you interact with it.
Yeah, it's really hard to like describe and review this game, but if you like puzzle games, I'm trying to think like what other game it's like. Like I want to say like Portal.
That was what I was thinking too.
Right.
Not because they're the same like at all, but just that they're both like hard and they make you think differently.
Yeah, they're games that make you think. I really like it when puzzle games have some way to give you hints in game so you don't have to go Google it. This game doesn't have that. And so there was like a website that we found that did give like incremental hints. So like obviously the point of this game is to solve the puzzle. So if you're Googling the answer, that's like I hate Googling. And you'll see, I'll bring this up for the few games we had to Google things when being stuck. But yeah, I really enjoyed this game when I like felt super clever when finding the things. I bought this on the Switch, and because of COVID, I haven't traveled anywhere. But maybe in the future, it's the kind of game that I could boot up and maybe try to solve some of the puzzles on the side or something. That it's kind of evergreen. I don't know if that's the right word for it.
It is. I mean, the only thing that's downside is that we were pretty far into the game, and there's a lot of like not mechanics, but there's a lot of like stuff that happens in those later games. So I feel like it's a game you kind of probably don't want to take a longer break from, but you can just like resolve some of the simpler puzzles.
Yeah, and I just don't know how close we solved. A lot of the easier ones and like the puzzles do gate. You have to solve a certain amount of puzzles before you can do the next one. I think this is also B tier. I don't think this is C tier. Like
it's not C tier.
There's nothing wrong with this game. It is exactly as advertised. Super clever, super unique. The fact that Portal is the only other game. I'm sure there's other games that I haven't played that are more similar to it. But yeah, it was only cheap, relatively cheap game. Good kind of. I think indie Switch game. Yeah.
It's really hard.
Yeah.
And if you are not good at English, this is not a good game for you.
The meanings of words definitely matter a lot. So I put this probably like a bottom B tier so far. We'll see how we
Really? I'm surprised. I feel like it might be better than Detroit.
Really? They're so different.
Yeah.
I really liked Detroit. Like I was almost considering putting in Detroit A. After you said it, it makes sense B.
I think you're right. I think you're right.
Ultimately, for a story game, Detroit it almost has a worse story than Red Dead, which
yeah, it does.
But it's kind of a different kind of game. But yeah, I would put.
Yeah, I think it's fine there.
I think it's there.
Super Mario Galaxy 2!
Yeah, so this Super Mario Galaxy 2, we played on the emulator, right? So this game is only on Wii U. We have a Wii U, but it's not plugged in, and I wasn't going to bother plugging it in. I actually don't even own this game, so we did technically pirate it. This was right after we played Luigi Mansion 3. Luigi Mansion 3 was a ton of fun. That's why we had an A. I never played this game.
Yeah, we never played this one. We played Galaxy originally on the Wii.
Yeah, on the original Wii.
Yeah, on the original Wii. We played that when it came out.
That was not one of the first game we ever played together. You playing with the girlfriend controller.
I got upgraded to the wife controller.
The wife controller now. A ton of fun, and we got all 120 stars. Technically, because after you beat the game and get 120 stars, you can replay it as Luigi.
Right.
And I remember you enjoyed it so much. You're like, we gotta go play with Luigi. And I was like, no, actually, I'm done with this game.
Neil does do the majority of the work. I just collect star bits and hold enemies back sometimes.
Yeah, but anyways, that was Galaxy 1. This is Galaxy 2. Surprisingly different in a lot of ways. It doesn't have like the open world. It kind of went back to the original Super Mario Bros. 3. Like there's a not linear, but like, somewhat linear path that you follow. You beat a world to unlock the next world. I don't know. This game was a lot of fun. We got all the stars again. I don't know. I don't think it was 120. I think it was a different number.
It was more, because it was all the green stars.
That was the thing, right? Because after you beat through the game, it goes back and kind of litters kind of secret stars in the games previously. And I was convinced that, after I get all the stars, I'm not going to want to go back and replay all the levels. Kind of like, Luigi's Mansion.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not going to want to go back and do those. But I, got one or two of them, and I was like, this isn't too hard. This isn't tedious. This is actually kind of fun. And then we went through and got all the extra stars. And then once you get all of the initial stars and all of the extra green stars, they give you a challenge level, and we beat the challenge level. And then they give you
suffering.
The challenge level wasn't too hard because they had checkpoints in between each of the challenges.
Oh, it was the second challenge
and then
level.
they introduced a second challenge level that just got rid of all the checkpoints, which I actually never beat. So we didn't technically 100% it because I didn't get that last star beating the challenge level. I didn't feel like booting the game up just to beat that last level, which I kind of regret, but like whatever, I don't care at any point at this point. Overall, really fun. Like I said, the Nintendo tier, I'm tempted to put this in A tier. I think it'll end up being low A tier.
Yeah, I would agree.
I think this game might... A lot of people really like this game who are Mario fans. It might initially get a bad rap because it's Galaxy 2. Yeah, I don't know, really fun. I was really sad when it was over because like, oh no, there's no more, like, we played Luigi Mansion, we played this, there's no more Girlfriend and Controller-esque games out there.
And there was no more, like, Mario games either.
There was no Mario
at the time.
All-Stars. You'll see Mario is there because we did eventually play 3D All-Stars. But yeah, really enjoyed this game. If you enjoy 3D Marios, you'll enjoy this game. You probably have already played it. If you haven't played Mario games, what are you doing with your life? But particularly good couple games.
Yes.
With the co-op and the Girlfriend Controller. But yeah, I would say not. Now I'm thinking.
No, Luigi's Mansion was better.
Luigi's Mansion was better. I'll trust you on this one just because you were the co-op. I think I liked Galaxy 2 more just because I love Mario games and the platforming. Luigi's Mansion's not a platformer. It's kind of a explory, vacuumy thing. Yeah. Luigi's Mansion, probably a better co-op game. Mario, obviously a better platformer gameplay-wise game. So then the next game after that we played was Journey. So Journey came out, I think, originally for the PS3. And I don't know, my thoughts on this is very reminiscent of Heavy Rain, where it was kind of revolutionary at the time. I know a lot of people who, when this came out, was like, this is my favorite game. I didn't play it because I didn't have a PS3. And it was on Steam, but it was always like, I don't know, I never really was that interested in it. It wasn't until we started kind of playing couch co-op games and I saw it on sale for like $5. I was like, sure, I'll play this game. It's supposed to be really, really good, super cheap now. I knew it was a game that was only a few hours long, but it was kind of lauded for its storytelling / artsiness. And I think I did play this. Maybe it was 2 sittings that I played it over, but it was like a day or 2.
Yeah, it was pretty short.
And I don't know, I was severely disappointed by this game. For a game that so many people loved, I thought I would at least, like, think it was a really good game. But I don't know, it leaned so heavily on its artsy visuals that the gameplay was kind of minimal. The story was very what's in the box, not, there's no voice acting, there's nothing telling you. It's all visual storytelling that was not that interesting.
I didn't even watch this game. I don't remember anything about it. I think I was like making dinner or something and just missed.
Because there was no like visual things going on. But like there wasn't a lot there. It was just like this game I think is entirely leveled on the visuals of it. And what's interesting about this game, I think why a lot of people like it, is that as you're playing through the game, there are other I don't know, I want to say just like other players also playing the game kind of along with you. And so it has like this online component and you have to get help from other players to kind of go through it. But one thing that's really interesting about this game is that you don't know if the other players are actually real players or NPCs, and the game doesn't tell you. I think like if you can't find an online connection or if you're not connected to the internet, it just puts in a computer. But you don't know. And then when you finish the game, in the credits, it lists all the people that you were playing with along the way. And you wouldn't know it while you were playing the game. Because if you play it through one continuous session, it doesn't like show the usernames of the other people. It just seems like you're playing the game with one other continuous character who's just like you. But it's actually other players who are playing with it. And at the same vein, you are probably helping other people at the same time. And you wouldn't even know it. So that aspect of the game is really, really interesting. But despite that, I didn't really feel like, oh, that was a revolutionary game that I really liked. Not even, like, this I think is going to be our first C-tier game.
Sure. Like I said, I have no opinion on this game.
Yeah, not a great co-op game. I thought you would have maybe liked it, but I didn't play it when
but like you said, there's no story.
Yeah.
Or
minimal story. It's very visual story, right? And so, like, I think this game suffers being a game of a time. I'm sure if I played it in 2012 or whenever it came out, I would have been like, oh, this game's cool. But now, I can see why people like it, but I think it's solidly in the C tier. So the next game that we played was Uncharted 3. So this is Uncharted 3. I know the icon isn't great for it.
Drake's Deception.
Is that was yeah, that Drake's Deception. I had so we actually didn't buy our PS4. We got it from Ashley's dad because he bought it when it came out, and he's like, "Oh, I don't play this thing anymore," and just gave it to us. And one of the few games he had, he had bought like Call of Duty and stuff, but he'd also bought the collection for Uncharted that include 1, 2, and 3.
Remastered for the PS4.
Yeah, remastered for the PS4. And when we first got the PS4, it was the only game I had on it. I was like, oh, I heard the Uncharted game's really good. I played Uncharted 1. That game's horrible. Like, even the remastered version, like, almost C, maybe even F tier if I was going to put it on this tier list. But Uncharted 1's really not that good. Uncharted 2 is much, much better. And so I played Uncharted 1, and then I played Uncharted 2, and I played them back to back, and it's kind of why I stopped playing similar or like same games in the series back to back, because I was kind of burnt out of their Uncharted 2. Uncharted 2 is just like leaps and bounds better than Uncharted 3, or not Uncharted 3, Uncharted 1. And this was before we started kind of playing games together. So I think you kind of saw Uncharted 2 a little bit, but we weren't like targeted playing games together at that point yet. And so I never played Uncharted 3. So I was just like, I'm kind of burnt out on this. 1 was horrible, 2 was pretty good. I heard from reviews that 3 is like worse than 2, and I was like, I don't know. But it was a game we had lying around, and
more importantly, Uncharted 4 had come out and was very popular, very successful, was very well reviewed, and we're like, we should probably play Uncharted 4. And, well, if we're going to play Uncharted 4, you got to play Uncharted 3 before you play 4. The other thing I would add to this is that I had really wanted to play way back in the day, like when Uncharted 1 came out. I had wanted to play it because I was like, this seems like a game I would like and could play, and I'm terrible at shooters, and so I'd never finished the game. So I was also sort of just interested in it from that angle. So that was probably the other push, is like, I want to play these Uncharted games because this type of story is interesting to me, but I can't play them because I'm bad at shooters.
Right. And so, yeah, I forgot about that aspect. You reminded me of it. Like, we wanted to play Uncharted 4 because Uncharted 4 was one of the best games for PS4. And Uncharted 4 actually came out quite a long time ago. And 2016, 2017.
Something like that, yeah.
And so, yeah, I wanted to play Uncharted 4. Uncharted 3, I didn't expect it to be a bad game or anything because I really liked Uncharted 2. And even though by some people liked Uncharted 3 less than 2, I knew that 3 was at least going to be, like, a good game that didn't have any downsides. And I think in a lot of ways it met my expectations in that way. And I think I agree with the common sentiment that 2 is probably better. It's, a lot of shooters, a lot of puzzlers, stories, like whatever. But this was the first time introducing you to the characters. I know you really liked the story of Uncharted 3.
No, I didn't.
You didn't?
No, I did not like the story of Uncharted 3. There were so many plot holes. There were so many problems.
I should say this. You really like the characters.
I do. I do really like the Uncharted.
I
do really like the Uncharted characters. I do really enjoy that part of it. But Uncharted 3, like, as a plot concept, was just missing a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
Frustratingly so.
Yeah, and it's kind of similarly gameplay-wise to not... It kind of missed the top tier in that regard.
If you're playing Uncharted 3, you've probably played the other ones. I wouldn't... If you've liked the other ones, you should probably also play this one. I know before we played Uncharted 4, because we did play some other games before we started Uncharted 4, you did like the characters enough to start looking up fanfic for them after just Uncharted 3. And you were so mad about there being stories that you wanted to write fanfic to fill in the holes. I know I'm embarrassing you now, Ashley.
You are publicly embarrassing me.
But
maybe I will edit it out of this video.
No, you will not. Not allowed to do that.
I did like the characters enough. That's the thing. I do like the characters. But Uncharted 3 as a story and its own independent story plot left a lot to be desired.
Yeah, at the end of the day, I think this puts it in B tier.
Yes.
Where do you think it goes?
I don't, probably above Baba's You, but
yeah, it's pretty similar to Baba's You. I wouldn't put it above Detroit. We can put it above Baba's You.
Yeah.
But yeah, good game to kind of finish out. I'm glad I played all of the Uncharted games. I'm glad I didn't like skip over this one. I'm glad we played this game. Overall enjoyable experience. So we didn't record it at the time, like what games we played. I kind of had to piece together the order of the game based on like our like order history, which Nintendo doesn't have a good order history. PlayStation does, but like I didn't remember exactly when we played Super Mario Galaxy. I guess I could have like looked up the files when they were last modified, but I didn't. So this is a non-exact list. But at some point when playing these games, Animal Crossing came out.
Animal Crossing.
Yeah, we played Animal Crossing New Leaf on the DS together,
and we played City Folk on the Wii.
City Folk on the Wii, and we're big Animal Crossing fans. So I
huge expectations for this game. For the first few months after this game came out, we played it so much. This game probably, I want to say almost definitely, is the most played game hours-wise.
Yes.
Mostly because you played it as well.
Yes.
For more.
And this came out right when all the COVID stuff happened, like the shelter in place and stuff. So everyone was playing Animal Crossing.
Yeah, and I don't even think that really affected. I think we would have played it a ton. Regardless of that.
But we had more. I think we had more friends who played Animal Crossing at that time because of that reason, which made it more fun.
And they all dropped off and stopped playing way before we did because we were so into it. Though we did eventually drop off and stop playing it. I played the first American release on the GameCube that I really enjoyed. Something just really. Animal Crossing is such a unique game, and it's really charming. And I really like hard games, and you'll see that. None of these games that we played so far on here that I'm looking at were really hard, except for Baba Is You, but that's different. It's different because it's puzzle hard. And, Animal Crossing's like the antithesis of that, but I consider myself a well-rounded gamer.
New Horizons had a lot of stuff that they added to it as well. Yeah. I think that was exciting, and all the updates were really fun. But then it just became a very tedious game to play.
Yeah, which is kind of the inevitable of Animal Crossing, is that inevitably it just ends up kind of feeling like a job, and this is true for all the other games as well. But
this one happened a lot faster. With the DIYs and stuff, you dropped off way before I did, but it was tough because you would I would like to make this thing for this season that is out there. Let me spend way too much time trying to get the recipe to start with, while every villager in my town is just giving me the birdhouse recipe that I got to literally invite them to the town. So why am I still getting this recipe, Nintendo? And then, okay, I finally get this recipe. Let me go farm acorns. Oh my god, I got 1 acorn in 97 branches. What is the point of this? It's too much. And I even had a really large crowdsourced, at our office, there was a whole channel with 100-something people in it devoted to Animal Crossing, where people would post about their turnip prices and I have this item that's really everybody wants today. This villager is crafting this thing, and I would go to people's towns and stuff, and like I said, our friends were playing it too, so we had that. But it still was just it was too much. So all the new fun things that they added very quickly became, like you said, a job, way faster, I think, than the previous one. We played New Leaf for at least an entire year, or at least I did. I got to Halloween with this.
Yeah, and that was when this game first came out, I kind of knew that it wasn't complete, and I had faith in Nintendo adding in good patches. And at that point, when the first game came out, I was obviously I wasn't thinking it in the terms of the tier list, but if it had held my interest for an entire year, and I'd played through all the holidays, it would have been an S tier game.
Mm-hmm.
But they bungled the Bunny Day release.
Oh my gosh, they did.
They even went back and patched it, but it was too late at that point. They patched in some other things, swimming was pretty cool, but yeah,
no quality of life stuff.
Yeah, no quality of life stuff. Really heavily leaning on DIYs, and I wasn't interested in DIYs. I love the ability to place furniture outside. It really dropped off my expectations. I struggled, like I said, it would have been an S tier if it held my attention, but I think it dropped maybe even to B tier.
I don't think it's a B tier. It's not the worst Animal Crossing game, I don't think.
I think it is. I don't know.
We played City Folk a lot, and City Folk had the town, the city, obviously, to do stuff in.
I think I'm just so disappointed in the expectation of what it could have been. I don't know. I love Animal. You're right. It's somewhere.
It's low A or high B.
Right. I agree.
I think it's low A.
You think it's low A? That's fair. I would put it below Super Mario Galaxy 2.
Yeah.
And I think that's fair. It might end up the lowest A.
In the Nintendo tier.
The Nintendo tier continues. But yeah, I wanted to love it so much. Enough about Animal Crossing. I guess it has to be just because of the number of hours we put into it.
Yeah, that's true. Outer Wilds.
Yeah, you didn't like Outer Wilds.
No, I did not. And I don't. I will say, I think that is a me thing. I don't think that is because the game is bad or is bad for secondary players. I think it was just. I think it's a me thing.
Yeah.
This style of game is just not a game that I like, and I don't feel like you can say a lot about it because it's a spoiler of
Well, I'll say this: a lot of people, when they talk about reviews of Outer Wilds, they I can't say anything. It's a game you have to experience yourself to play. And I think I found a good way to think about it. It's a puzzle game, but it's like a world puzzle game. So I can describe the gameplay without giving away any of the twists, which is there is a solar system, and you have a spaceship, and you can fly around to all the different planets. And this game does a really good way with scale where you can fly in between the planets, and it's really fast and really quick. Really good controls. You can have the spaceship auto fly for you if like the spaceship flying is like too hard for you, which I didn't ever do, but like you don't have to have good controls with the spaceship in order to play the game. They really wanted it to be an exploration puzzle game, and there's something weird about this solar system that you live in, and there's like a lot of things happening, and you just have to travel to all the planets and figure it out. So at the core of the game, it is an exploration puzzle game that has some really unique mechanics that I won't talk about because that will spoil it. And I know a lot of people really hold this game highly because of the unique mechanics and the unique way of storytelling. Well, the storytelling is very text heavy. There isn't really voice acting. I think that's why I actually kind of struggled to get into it. I really like the idea and the execution of this game. I kind of actually struggled with the puzzle. Because I thought...
We did have to Google one of the puzzles.
Yeah, this is one of the few games I actually did have to Google. And the reason we had to Google it was because I thought there was a solution that wasn't there. So I tried that. The game kind of, through its story, implied that there was a thing you could do that was only story and I couldn't actually do it. And then the thing it wanted you to do to solve the puzzle, I tried and I just like did it slightly incorrectly, and so I thought, oh, that's not how you're supposed to do it, and so I just like left that, and I was like, oh, I tried that, that's not what I'm supposed to do, and so I ended up Googling it, and I got really frustrated because it was like, oh, you do that thing you're supposed to do, but you just did it slightly incorrectly, and I was like, ah, and so this game, as much as I really enjoyed it while I was playing it, left a really bad taste in my mouth because the final solution to the puzzle was something that I like almost got, but just did slightly wrong, and then thought was not a solution, and then wasted a bunch of time. I think at the end of the day that this puts us in the B tier, really.
Oh, really? Wow. I thought you were going to make it an A tier game, to be honest.
Oh, no, not at all. Like, I just really love Nintendo that much. Like, I'm trying to be very strict about not putting anything in the A tier unless they're really good games.
Fair enough.
This is a good game, but I think I also should say this. I also just really hold games in the B tier really high. I like all these games in the B tier. I actually really like.
It's the 3 stars. 3 stars is good.
I think it's better than Baba Is You. I think even as a puzzle game.
I think that's true.
I think it's better than Strict Deception as well. So I put it there. I thought you were going to try to push this into the C tier from your own experiences, but
just I like I said, I think it's a me thing, and objectively, I could see why this is a game people would enjoy.
Yeah,
it's just not a game that I liked as a secondary player. Maybe playing it, I would have liked.
Really good music in this game. I know you.
Oh yeah, the music was good.
Yeah,
it was good.
But yeah, Outer Wilds. I know some people consider it a lot higher.
Sorry, Nick.
And then we played Uncharted 4.
Uncharted 4
is
at Thief's End.
Such a good game.
It's so good for like, especially for how honestly mediocre the other 3 are. Like, this game is so good, and I'm so sad it was the last one because they like nailed it. They nailed the story. Obviously, graphically, it's a lot better. They nailed like a lot of the gameplay stuff, and like the pacing seemed a lot better. And they're like, "Oh, we're not gonna make this series anymore." I'm like, "But you cracked it!"
I'm kind of happy. I'm kind of happy that they kind of closed the loop.
Mm-hmm. The story ends very like nicely. It's a good time. There's not a lot of like holes. I didn't have a lot of problems with it.
Yeah, and the gameplay was better. Not super revolutionary, but like good set pieces, good characters.
That like drama with the characters was like reasonable and made sense and like was resolved.
And like good visuals for a relatively early PS4 game. It's not that early, but like wasn't an end of life PS4 game. We both just really enjoyed this game. We're sad that there wasn't any more. Naughty Dog went on to play Last of Us. We didn't actually play Last of Us for a long time, and we'll make the comparisons when we get to The Last of Us. But yeah, Uncharted 4 overall just perfection of the series
and this like style of game, like the puzzle shooter.
I've played like probably the most similar game is Tomb Raider, and I've played that on PC, and this game is so much better than Tomb Raider. And I think a lot of games like we played later in like Jedi Fallen Order, and what was the other game that we played that kind of had Ghost of Tsushima?
Yeah.
They had Uncharted-esque aspects to them,
but didn't do it nearly as well.
This game is either high A or S. I don't know if this is our first S tier game or not.
This is my S tier game.
I can say it's probably going to be the bottom end of the S tier, but this game really did
stand out. Probably one of my favorite PS4 games. That's the other thing I should say. So many games nowadays are kind of open world games, and I really enjoyed the linearity.
I did too. Persona 5 Royale, our first JRPG. Like literally, the first JRPG we've ever played
together. Yeah, and I remember I was like, Ashley, we're gonna play this game. It's going to take over an hour. So
over 100 hours.
Over 100 hours. And this is the Royale version, so I never played Persona 5, the original one.
Or any of the other Personas.
Yeah, we played it, we bought it full price. This is one of the few games, the only game that's not a Nintendo game that we bought full price for $60. I heard so many good things about Royale.
And also remember, this is COVID quarantine time, so we're not doing anything.
Right.
We have nothing else to do. So that's why I was like, all right, I hope I like this 100-hour game we're going to play.
I remember telling you this, Ashley, if you don't commit to this game and paying attention, you won't like it. But if you do, I think you'll really, really like this game.
Dear reader, I loved this game.
Yeah, this is
oh God, I loved this game.
Favorite JRPG I've ever played. A lot of the remaining lists are JRPG games, and that was inspired by how much this game. I mean, the combat is simplistic, but exactly what I want out of a JRPG game.
I was really nervous that the turn-based was going to be a pain. I played a little bit of I played Final Fantasy X on the PS2, and I was just dying with the turn-based. But the turn-based in this was actually not terrible. It wasn't that bad. And all the school day stuff, I loved it. Oh, I loved all that stuff.
Yeah, the calendar system where you because the core gameplay of you have actions you can do, but only so much time to do them, so you can't do everything. Is, I don't know, really compelling. Trying to optimize. I love optimizing things. The one downside, if there's any downside to this game, is that there's really, really long cutscene sections.
Yeah.
There's a lot of just let me tell you the story, but the characters are just so good. That's why those cutscenes are so long, because they really want to grow the characters, and every character in the game has such a unique personality. It's so Japanese, but I mean, that's JRPG for you. But I think we both just came out of this game just so blown away, especially with the Royale sections and the extra characters that they added in.
I cried at the end of this game. There's a little section at the end where you say goodbye to the characters, and I was sad. Right. That we were done with these characters. That is how much I really liked this game and cared about it. And obviously you put in a lot of time, and we put in over 100 hours into this game over the course of, whatever.
Yeah.
A month or two.
Yeah, at the end of the day, I think we both agree on this. It's probably our favorite game that we played from this entire list.
Yes.
It's funny playing it right back to back with Uncharted 4. We got all these S tier games, and then there's going to be a big gap. I think there's maybe a few more, but not very many. If you are a JRPG fan, you've probably already played this, and if you haven't, you're crazy. You should definitely play Persona 5. Royale. If you're not a JRPG fan, and I would still recommend this a game. It's very long, but it doesn't feel like it's grindy or anything. But even on normal, it's not a super easy game. You have to play strategically. You can't just mash X. Which is part of the reason that I like this game, is that the gameplay isn't trivial. I think we both agree. High S tier, highly recommend this game.
Also for the waifu wars, for those who have played it, Yoshizawa-san.
Yeah, which is probably the most. Yeah, this is pretty typical for most JRPGs. Is there's you can pair up with the main character
with one of the girls.
And we definitely on theme are very canon.
One last thing, the music is amazing.
Yeah,
it's very, very good, incredible. I actually listen to the music sometimes, just on Spotify. That's how good the music is.
Yeah, I would agree. On to Link's Awakening. I don't really remember what. Oh, I guess this game kind of just came out.
It had come out, and we were like, we need anything to play.
Yeah, I know. I think we were kind of at this point a little there are times in the last few years where I had a bunch of games I wanted to play lined up. I know I wanted to play Royale and Uncharted lined up, and Uncharted 3. This was a time where I was we beat Royale. We'd been playing it for so long, and I didn't have a game lined up. I was like, oh, I never played Link's Awakening before. There's a NieR Remaster that's beautiful on the Switch. We should play it. I never really liked 2D Zeldas. I was a huge fan of 3D Zeldas, but 2D Zeldas I never really played. When I played them on the GBA when I was younger, I never really got into them. And I did get into this game. It's not a very long game.
No.
I think I played it over a weekend or something and beat it. And 100%ed it. Doesn't really have very many side quests anyways, but got all the extra things the few extra things that there were. I liked it. I guess it kind of met my expectations.
Yeah, the art is beautiful. The graphic style they chose was really good.
Yeah, it has this weird tilt shifty thing that looks really good.
It kind of looks like a claymation movie, the graphic design of it, which is nice. It was fun. It's a fun little game, like story-wise, right? There's not, there's not a lot of text and stuff in it. There's no voice acting or whatever, but like it's still a cute little story and like it's fun. I don't know.
Yeah, I agree. I don't know if there's much more to say about it.
No.
Not a game that I would like highly recommend people go out. I don't think it even makes it in Nintendo tier. I think it's like a high B tier.
Yeah, it's high B. Probably behind Red Dead, I think.
Probably behind Red Dead.
But above Detroit.
About there. Makes sense. I did enjoy this game enough, and like I said, I never really played any of the other 2D Zeldas that we were still looking for games, didn't have very many. I logged on to Nintendo Online, their emulator on the Switch, because if you pay for Nintendo Online, which we did because we were playing Animal Crossing, they have just a bunch of SNES and NES games on there. And I noticed they had a Link to the Past, which is highly
one of the best ones, right?
Well, it was kind of like the first. I don't want to say the first, but it was the last 2D Zelda before Ocarina of Time, and it's widely regarded as the best 2D Zelda. But it hasn't been remade. This is the original SNES emulated on the thing, and I just started playing. I didn't intend to play it. Like I just booted it up and like, oh, what is this? What is this like? And I just ended up playing the whole thing.
Yeah.
And like a lot of these games, like Journey and Heavy Rain, I didn't like because I didn't think it held up. This game came out in like 1993 and it held up fantastically. I think if A Link to the Past had been remastered like Link's Awakening, I would have liked it more. So yeah, really, really good. You can really see the roots of 3D Zeldas in this, and they kind of took that formula and turned it into 3D. But yeah, I really liked Link to the Past. I would put it in the B tier because it wasn't as good as these A tier games. I don't know where I'd put it in the B tier. Ultimately, because it was an emulator, it was a slightly worse experience than Link's Awakening. I'm tempted to put it like right below it or below Detroit. But yeah, I actually really like this game. I know after we played it, we were talking about, we should play all the Zeldas, but a lot of them are on like Game Boy, and obviously we can't really play those together. I was pleasantly surprised because I never played this older one. It's like, oh, it's not gonna be that good. It's old, but I really enjoyed it.
Yeah.
Solid B tier game. The next game that we decided to play was A Way Out. This is one of the few games we played on the Steam Link.
Yeah.
It was available on PS4. It was on sale on Steam and PS4. But we only have one PS4 controller.
Yeah. The main reason we played this is because it is touted as being a co-op game. Like that is its intended way to play it. You have to play it with someone else.
Have to play it with co-op. And I really liked the kind of the value proposition there of like you have to play with someone else. That's core to the gameplay. It was like a unique split screen experience where sometimes your two characters aren't actually doing the same thing, and you have to like go off and do separate things, but they're like together. Loved the concept of this, but I think we both kind of agree the execution wasn't quite there.
Yeah, it wasn't quite there from like a story perspective. You're breaking out of a prison. That's the plot. And then there's a little bit more after that, but whatever.
Yeah, there's like twists and turns.
Yeah, you're breaking out of prison. That's the plot of this game. And the thing about it is, it just was really, it's a basic, you're breaking out of prison plot. I don't know. There wasn't anything super original there. Some of the gameplay stuff was a little gimmicky for like the two player. It didn't feel natural. It didn't feel like part of the story. It didn't feel like we were together trying to escape a prison. It felt like, oh, they had this idea that you're going to dig a tunnel, and so I have to distract the guard, because we're right next to each other, and like that's how they wanted to do the co-op bit, and so they made the story do that or something. Like it just didn't a lot of it didn't feel natural. I also hated the ending, which I won't say because it's a spoiler, but the ending was stupid.
Yeah, I kind of enjoyed all of the gimmicks. I think that like I really like mini games and stuff in games as long as they're not too tedious, and so it felt like they had a bunch of like different ideas that they connected together. I don't want to not recommend this to people.
It's not very long.
It's not very long.
It's not hard.
If you really are into co-op gaming, it's definitely a good option though. But I struggle to put this on the same level as the other B tiers. I would put this probably in the C tier.
Yeah, probably high C tier, probably above Journey.
Probably above
it's
Journey.
The very very bottom of B.
Right.
I'm actually really interested in this company. The guys who made A Way Out have made a new game. It Takes Two?
It Takes Two.
Yeah, which looks much better.
Yeah, and I'm very excited to play it.
Excited to play that. We can't play it for a while, but I'm looking forward to playing that because I think it's going to have improved upon what they were trying to do here.
Well, I should say, one of the reasons that we're doing this tier list now is because in a few days
we're getting our PS5.
Yeah.
And so this is kind of the end of an era of the PS4, and I'm planning on playing It Takes Two on PS5 probably when the first time it goes on sale.
Yeah.
So I would recommend A Way Out if you really like co-op gaming, and because you have to have co-op anyways. But going out of your way to play this game, It Takes Two is probably just like a much better game.
Will probably be the better one.
Or Luigi's Mansion 3 or Super Mario Galaxy 2.
Well, okay, Super Mario Galaxy 2 is not a good co-op.
That's true. But
to be
Luigi's
fair.
Mansion 2, 3, and probably It Takes Two, which you haven't played yet.
Yeah.
And then I took a trip down memory lane and played Tony Hawk Pro Skater, the remake 1 and 2 together. Huge nostalgia trip. This game we bought full price. I know I said this for Son of Royale. We also bought this full price, but the full price was $40.
Yeah.
So I didn't feel too bad about it.
It's fine.
Yeah, I liked this game. It really filled up my nostalgia cup. It was a good remake, a proper remake, not just a remaster. I think just ultimately super short, but I remember like playing it together and finding all the things.
Yeah, we did all the things.
Skating around the areas.
But we played it in like a day and a half.
Yeah, which is not surprising. It doesn't really have a lot of longevity.
No.
They have like, you can replay it with different characters, but it ends up being pretty similar.
There's an online thing where people make skate parks, but
yeah,
it's like,
the custom editor is pretty meh. But I always really liked Tony Hawk games. I played Tony Hawk 1, Tony Hawk 2, Tony Hawk 3, Tony Hawk Underground, Tony Hawk Underground 2. I never played American Wasteland, but I always just really liked these games growing up. And so it was really cool to see a remake, and I enjoyed it, and I'm glad it was only $40. Yeah, it really got the feel of the game down. I don't know where to put this. I guess it's low B tier. I would almost put it like bottom.
Or high C.
I can't imagine enjoying this game if you didn't
Yes.
have the nostalgia for
I
it.
didn't play.
But even though you didn't play, I think you did enjoy.
I did enjoy watching it, but that's because you're good at the game.
That's true.
Like, that was fun to watch. Like, oh, Neil's actually really good at this game. Wow. I played Tony Hawk's Underground for a little bit, and that was fun. But yeah, I never played the original one, so I would have put it more in a C probably.
Yeah, and the Tony Hawk games, they got like worse over time.
Yeah.
They kind of like adding new features, and so this was kind of like a devolution of the game, bringing it back to the basics. It has some features that was in later games that weren't in the original, so you get to go back and play those original maps with a few of the things, but not like overloaded. Yeah, solid B tier game, but like low B tier.
Yeah. Super Mario 64.
Yeah, this is when they announced Super Mario 3D All Stars. I have played all of these games before.
I have not.
But Ashley had not, and they're some of my favorite games of all time. So I bought Super Mario 3D All Stars with the intent to replay all of them and beat them all.
120 stars, yeah.
Yeah, and I actually, when I originally played Super Mario 64 as a kid, I think I beat it, but not 120 stars. And then I got Super Mario 64 3DS, and I did. That actually had more than 120 stars. I think it had like 140, and I did beat it on DS and really enjoyed the game.
And then, yeah, I played this a little bit as a kid, and then my dad played the whole thing and got all the stars. So I've.
Oh wow! I didn't realize your dad did that.
Yeah, he didn't do that. So I've seen the game many years ago.
I think this whole game holds up wonderfully.
Pretty well. The camera's garbage.
The camera's garbage. That's the most frustrating. But this is still like the top speedrun game.
Yeah.
There's good reason for it. The movement's so good. I'm a total Mario stan. A lot of people would put this like automatic S tier. I don't think it's
not an S tier.
It's not an S tier. The biggest downside about this game, at least 120 starring it, is that there's the 100 coins moon. Every level you get, or not moon, star. You get a star if you collect 100 coins on each level. Some levels it's kind of easy. Some levels there's like literally only 100 coins, and you have to like go through the entire level. And if you die, you have to re-click the. It's really frustrating. So there are like particular stars that are frustrating that make it not the best experience. And there are some like the camera's frustrating and stuff. But that being said, just such a good game. Holds up really well. Still enjoy it. Makes me want to put it in A tier.
Yeah, I think that's fine.
I think I liked it more than Animal Crossing. Probably not as good as Animal Crossing or Galaxy 2, even though like a lot of people would consider Super Mario 64 a better game than Galaxy 2. But for us, because of the co-op, I think Galaxy 2 is a better game.
Yeah.
And because I didn't want to burn myself out playing too much Mario, even though I probably wouldn't have burned out because I love Mario so much, I tested some other games in there. And the game that was on sale, we got two games, Death Stranding and NieR Automata.
Game with the YoRHa edition.
Game with the YoRHa edition. So we played
Death Stranding, the Kojima game, guy who used to make Metal Gear Solid. Then he left that company. This is his first game that he ever made. Death Stranding, super divisive. Some people really, really like it. Some people really, really hate it. I think it's just
I think we had the benefit of this game is we played it way after it came out. So
it was on sale.
So it was on sale. And we knew about the divisiveness. I think if you had gone into this game with nothing, I could understand how people would feel. I understand how people could feel frustrated by it. Right. Also, because we had played this game so much later, a lot of things were around that probably weren't around when you originally played it.
I think those all the like because this game does some really interesting online things because like the idea of the game is that you are delivering packages like an Amazon delivery man
in a post-apocalyptic
world, very 2020 game.
Yeah.
Where everybody's like afraid to go outside.
Right. It's a weird, it's got weird Kojima stuff.
Right. And so everyone's stuck in their little fallout shelters.
Right. And you have like a baby strapped to your body, and the rain does weird stuff, and there's monstery things, but not monsters. And
I guess what I'm trying to say is that there's good social distancing in this game, and you're just the one delivering everyone.
Yeah.
But the world, the gameplay is kind of traversing through the difficult world, and it's got really interesting online aspects where you can build like bridges and ladders and stuff, and sometimes things that you build appear in other people's world. So it's as if you're all delivery men in this world, but it's not very dense. And so you get help from other people, and you help other people, which is brilliant.
Yeah.
Love it so much. People thought this game. I think the people who don't like this game, they just found it tedious. I don't know. I think there's so much depth in the nuance of the way that you walk through the world.
Yeah.
The idea of just like holding forward to walk through a world for 15 minutes is boring, no matter the world. But I don't know. I thought that the game was actually really deep. I understand why some people don't like it, but I don't know. I really loved it.
Yeah, I had a good time. The plot is definitely wacky, but I was invested in a lot of stuff that was happening and about the characters.
The characters was great. The voice acting was great.
Well, again, it's another mocap game. So.
Yeah, it's another mocap game.
With like top tier.
The story was horrible. Like it's
just weird.
Kingdom Hearts level nonsense going on.
It's not Kingdom Hearts.
It's not as bad as Kingdom Hearts.
But yes, it is definitely a Kojima game. So you're not going to get answers to things. You're not really going to understand what's happening. It's whatever.
I secretly kind of love the whole like Norman Reedus meminess of it all. Like when you go to the bathroom, there's like a ad for The Walking Dead that comes up and covers your body and with Norman Reedus. I actually kind of like that. And like
there's Monster Energy drinks.
There's Monster Energy drinks everywhere. And I actually think it was like surprisingly tasteful. It's just, I don't know, it's such a cool game and a lot of the details and nuance. I almost think that makes this an A-tier game, I want to say.
Yeah, I think it is.
I almost would put it above Animal Crossing. Like, more memorable than Animal Crossing, I think.
No, I don't disagree.
But yeah, like, I definitely fell on the, I really like this game. Because if you look at the, like, review, the averages of the reviews, it kind of seems like a mediocre game. But that's because there's people who love it and really, really love it, and people who really, really hate it, and so the reviews average out kind of mediocrely. And I definitely fell on the, like, really love it game. So this was kind of a riskier buy.
That worked out.
Definitely worked out.
Super Mario Sunshine! I did not have a GameCube, so I've never experienced this game. I always wanted to play it. I really wanted a GameCube when I was a kid, and my parents wouldn't get me one. I knew nothing about this game outside of you have a hose.
Yeah, I did play it on GameCube and beat it. I didn't get all the stars and shines.
All the shines.
I don't even think I really understood blue coins. Oh god, blue coins. Yeah. This game is so close to being like amazing, but blue coins. So like for those of you who haven't 100%ed this game, and I wanted 100% this game because I wanted to 100% all the games, which I didn't technically 100% Mario Galaxy, but we'll get to that later. Thematically, this is my favorite.
Yes. Of the three.
Mario, yeah. Of all Marios.
Oh, all Marios?
Just, like, I just love the tropical thing. I love the hover nozzle. I think it's super fun. I would... we haven't gotten to Odyssey yet, which is, I think, are both of our favorite Marios, but outside of Odyssey, it wasn't for blue coins, this would be my favorite game. And for those who don't know blue coins, as I got off track before, they have these coins scattered across the level that you're supposed to kind of explore and find. It's like the first instance of Odyssey-esque exploring in Mario, which combine in a really good way. However, they were really tedious and hard to find if you wanted to get all of them.
I kind of, when we were talking about Baba Is You, I kind of hinted at this. I really like it when puzzle games have a in-game way to give you hints.
Mm-hmm.
And Odyssey does.
Right.
So you can 100% that game without ever Googling anything.
Sunshine doesn't.
Sunshine doesn't. And I wanted to 100% it, so we did have to like Google it and go through and find all of these coins. And some of them
these
were
awful IGN guides because there aren't that many.
And just like collecting the blue coins weren't fun. Yeah, I mean, this obvious A tier game, because I love Mario so much, as the Mario tier gets padded out. I mean, I could have just had one picture for all of them. I think.
I like it better than Galaxy 2.
But you like it better than
But I didn't play it, to be fair.
It's true. I mean, it's still such a good game, even despite the blue coin. Really enjoyed it. And then another one to break up our
Mario-a-thon
was NieR Automata. After playing Detroit Human, I remember us like reading some things about like, oh, this is another game that explores like AI human interaction and
right,
stuff.
and they think this. A lot of people say that this is better, does a better, more interesting, nuanced like exploration of it than Detroit does.
Right, which I totally disagree with.
Mostly just because I will say the NieR Automata like conversation about AI and like whatever. It's not really there. I don't like the Detroit one is very heavy-handed and obvious and like. Fine. It's not, it's not unique and interesting. It's pretty much like what you would expect. This story, I don't really feel like has anything to do with being an AI. Like, you are an AI, but I don't think that that's really what the, like, conversation is about in this game, but...
Yeah, the story, wasn't that good.
No. They did some interesting stuff with, like, how they told the story.
Yeah, that's true. There was some meta mechanics, for
yes.
lack of a better word. And... there was nothing like wrong with this game. I don't think it's not a AAA game,
no.
And so for it being a relatively low budget game, it's pretty impressive. We played it on the PS4. I know there's problems with it on the PC, and the port isn't very good. But like, people really like the music. I didn't care for the music.
Yeah, the music was whatever.
The environments aren't that good. The combat's
press X.
Yeah, it was a little more complicated
whatever.
than that, and it's like you can hack and like attack, but yeah, ultimately I was disappointed with this game. I thought I was gonna like it a lot more than I ended up liking it. This game has really, really high ratings, and this is a game that I don't think deserves this high rating. There's something about this game other people like that I guess I just didn't connect with. There's no single thing that's wrong with it. It's just as
a package.
Yeah, but and it does have one of my favorite gaming moments, which is at the very, very end.
Oh yeah, the very, very end.
To get like I don't know if it's a good ending, but the game asks you if you want to delete your save.
To like help somebody else.
Yeah, and some of you might be like, why would you ever do that? But there's like story reasons for it. And I had just beat the game, and I was like, I'm not gonna ever play this game again. Or if I do, I'm gonna probably start from the beginning. I'm not gonna like reload up this save.
Right.
And so I said yes, and like I don't know. I didn't believe the game was actually going to delete my save.
Yeah, and it did.
And it did.
Actually deleted the save.
It's and I guess that's a little bit of a spoiler, but I just found that
I did really like
so
that
delightful.
Too. I liked that a lot too.
It's almost as if that one moment kind of bumps this game up from a C to a B for me.
Oh, it's not a C game.
You don't think it's a C game?
No, it's definitely a low B game. It's not a C game though.
Yeah. It's slightly disappointing.
It's better than Tony Hawk.
You think it's better than Tony Hawk?
Tony Hawk, you played for like 20 minutes.
Yeah, from a value proposition point of view, there's a lot more gameplay there. We didn't 100% it. We did most of the side quests.
We just missed one thing.
Yeah, and
that was just an accident because you had to do it at a certain time and we didn't know.
Yeah.
And then it was like...
And the side quests in this game aren't like that good. I was kind of just doing them, but... No. It's sad that this game didn't reach my expectations. I really thought this was going to be like one of my favorite games when we eventually got to it, but...
Super Mario Galaxy!
Yeah, and then we finish off 3D All-Stars playing Super Mario Galaxy. We beat this game together in college. Yeah. We already talked about this when we were talking about Galaxy 2. We 120 started then. Technically, you can 240 start it, but we didn't do that. We didn't do it this time either, but we played together.
Did I play it? Could I play it? I don't remember.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I could. Yeah.
It had the unique controls. I was going to say this, but this was only for this one, where... because it's the Switch, it doesn't have the infrared, but you have to use motion controls. I think it worked out pretty well.
Yeah, it wasn't too bad from what I remember now.
And yeah, just enjoyable. Probably my least favorite of all of the 3D Marios. It's still easily A tier. Yeah, worked surprisingly well as a port.
Yeah, and overall just enjoyed it. And
it's also funny. The only funny thing I would say about this too is you can like see the inklings of Odyssey in this game a little bit.
Yeah, you can as they start to go towards that.
It's better than Death Stranding. But also, I'm a Mario stan, so.
Yeah, I'm also a Mario stan. Just like playing
so
Mario.
It's
I think it has the least interesting movement. I like the other Marios. Just like playing them a little bit more. I think Galaxy 2 did improve on it. But yeah, I was sad after playing this and being like, oh man, we're out of Mario games to play.
Yeah.
And if you look down at our list, we do eventually replay Odyssey. I was so thirsty for Nintendo games, I bought Pikmin 3 Deluxe just released. That's another co-op game.
Which I had never played. I've never played any Pikmin game.
Right, and I never played it either, or any of the other games. And I was like, oh, this is a co-op game. I know it's not Mario, but it's still Nintendo. Pikmin 3 is a lauded game. Let's check it out. Bought it full price. The game was better than A Way Out, but
it's too short.
It's way too short. I thought it was going to be... much like NieR Automata, I thought I was going to like this game a lot more. Mm-hmm. I was kind of disappointed. I know you wanted to play it a little bit more, but I was kind of over it because it was kind of tedious.
Repetitive.
They added in extra challenge levels, but those are just like, hey, like all levels are kind of similar.
Yeah.
And like I said this before, and I'll say it again. I like games that don't add in fluff, and this game doesn't really add in fluff. It's like it tells the story. The story's good. It was fun to play, but it doesn't make it into the Nintendo tier, which is entirely Nintendo and Death Stranding right now. No, surprisingly nothing in the S tier yet. Highly recommend this as for a co-op game.
It's just too short.
Just too short. It probably isn't worth $60. I mean, yeah, it does really drop it down to the B tier. I think like lower B tier. Definitely around here. Maybe.
I liked it more than Bob Is You.
I liked it more than Bob Is You. That's fair. I know you enjoyed the game. You liked playing with it. So I think it deserves to be there. Yeah, after we quickly beat Pikmin, played Shadow of the Colossus. I loved Shadow of the Colossus on PS2. This is the PS4 Remaster.
I never played it on PS2.
One of my favorite PS2 games. So I was really excited and this was on sale, so I was really excited to play it again. The remaster, it claims to be a remake, and I think they changed a few small things, but it's more of a remaster than a remake. Very, very similar to the PS2 game with just basically updated visuals. And for those who haven't played Shadow of the Colossus before, it's basically a game with very, very little story. And it's basically just like 16 boss battles in a row, and you travel through this open world. And it's not a super deep world. It's meant to just be walked through. It isn't really much exploring. It's not really exploring. It's mostly just like just the boss battles. And I really like the concept of this game.
It's fine.
It's fine.
It's original, certainly. I think it's a little too long.
Really? It's not that long of a game.
Well, not because, like, in terms of length, I just mean, it's, like you said, 16 boss battles. It's, like, too many. Because they're not that unique.
Yeah, some of them are samey, but...
I think it would have been a tighter game if they had cut a couple of them out.
Yeah, this game didn't hold up as well as I thought it would. I enjoyed it. I beat it. I think this is a game, much like Journey, a game of its time. I don't know if this is a B or C tier. What are your thoughts? I know you didn't care.
I just don't really care.
There's nothing enticing about it. Yeah, not a game that I would. I don't know. I think I'm willing to put this in the C tier, mostly because our B tier is getting bloated. Mostly just because it's definitely high C tier, but it's definitely better than A Way Out and Journey. If you didn't play Shadow of the Colossus when it originally came out, I don't think there's a ton of reason to get this remaster.
Yeah, that's probably what
if you like the original game and want to play it again, it definitely does a good job of doing that, which is exactly what I wanted. So I got what I wanted out of it, but it wasn't as good as the second time around.
Yeah. What Remains of Edith Finch is a little story game.
It's a walking simulator.
Yeah, that's true.
It's not like Heavy Rain or Detroit Being Human, where there's like choices involved. It's mostly just like a walking simulator where you go through
and experience a story.
That's
a little interactive.
And you actually played this game.
I did play this game because it was, as we just said, not a game really. I don't know. I liked it. I like this type of game. You know, it's more of like an art piece than it is like a game. But I think this one was good. It had a little mystery. It was interesting, trying to piece together what happened basically to this like family and trying to understand what happened to this family. I don't know. It was a fun little couple of hours.
It's hard to talk. Yeah, it's pretty short. There was actually kind of a few little like gamey parts of it. Not really. It's mostly just walking simulator. Most more of an interactive movie than anything else here. Less interactive than Heavy Rain or Detroit Being Human. But overall, good story. Was really cheap when we bought it.
I mean, it's a game I liked more than like NieR Automata.
Yeah, it's solidly a B tier game, especially for what it is. It was exactly what I wanted it to be. I almost want to put it like there. Yeah, that makes sense. And so yeah, I think full price it's like $20, and we bought it for like I think like $7.
And that's about how much you should pay for that game.
Right, and the like $20 not even like the worst ripoff of games, but
sure.
Definitely nothing revolutionary. Wasn't expecting anything revolutionary, but solid B tier game there.
All right, Final Fantasy VII Remake.
Yeah, after playing Persona 5, I was waiting. I knew Ashley liked JRPGs now. I was waiting for a JRPG to go on sale. This game was on my list for a long time of like, oh, I think we'll enjoy it. If I play this game, I think Ashley will like it. We bought Final Fantasy VII Remake and The Last of Us and The Last of Us 2 all at the same time. And I wanted to break up The Last of Us. So I thought I would play Last of Us first, but Ashley was more interested in Final Fantasy VII.
True. I never played Final Fantasy VII. And as I mentioned, I played a little bit of Final Fantasy X, and like I've always wanted to play the Final Fantasy games. I just am incapable of doing it, and so that was part of why I was interested. Also, this one wasn't, as you guys probably know, as part of the remake, they didn't. It's not turn-based anymore from the combat, so it's different in that respect. Also, it is beautiful.
Yeah, very very good looking game, and it's part of that is just like graphical fidelity. Part of it is stylistic as well. Nothing like the original Final Fantasy at all.
Did you play the original?
No, I didn't. Yeah. Actually.
So neither of us have played the original.
I know a lot of people who have played this game are like, oh, there's nostalgia. I didn't have that nostalgia at all. Still enjoyed it. I think part of it was that you enjoyed it as well. You really liked all the characters.
I did. All these like classic characters that you know, but we didn't like know, if that makes sense. Yeah. Like, I know who Cloud is and Sephiroth and Aerith and all of that stuff, and I know the big twist to Final Fantasy VII original and all of that, but to actually experience it was different.
Right.
Obviously, we know the story changed a little bit too.
Yeah, very disappointing that this game isn't the entire story, that they're going to make more. But I guess it's good that they're going to make more. I didn't feel like... I know some people complained like, oh, this is only like the first few hours of Final Fantasy VII. But like, this is not a short game.
No.
This is a full-length game. I'm not disappointed that the story didn't progress as much as the original Final Fantasy did. But I don't know. I think we both really like this game. I'm intending to buy the DLC when it comes out on PS5, which is PS5 exclusive. I'm excited for that.
Remake Part 2, when that comes in 2027 or whatever.
It'll probably be out
soon.
2023 at the latest.
Probably.
Right? But yeah, fully intending on playing the next one. I think this makes it in the A tier. I know you really, really liked it.
Oh, this is an S tier game.
This is an S tier game for you. Okay. I don't know if I would make Final Fantasy VII that high. I liked it, but I don't know if I liked the S tier-ness.
I loved it.
You loved it that much that it was S tier? Wow. I think
there's 4 games for me in this list that are S tier.
Well, we'll see. Okay, I'll let you push this into S tier. I'm gonna say it's low S tier.
Sure, that's fine.
I think we both liked Uncharted 4 more. Really proving the love of JRPGs there. And then we played The Last of Us.
It took us this long to play The Last of Us because I don't like zombie games. And I was very nervous that this was going to be like a horror-style zombie game, like a Resident Evil zombie game, or like even the Walking Dead Telltale game is kind of spooky. I just don't like spooky zombie games. I will say, for those of you out there who haven't played this and are concerned about that, this is not a zombie game in that regard. Like, yeah, zombies are around and they're part of, whatever, they're not called zombies, and they're part of it, but it's not a game about zombies. It's a game about Ellie and Joel doing stuff. Like, that's what it's more about.
Yeah, and I actually already played this game on the PS3, and this was a remastered version, and I really wanted to play The Last of Us 2 because it had just come out and it was on sale and I bought it, but I wanted Ashley to get up to speed.
Yeah.
I actually was not a huge fan of the first game when the first time I played it because people were talking about it as this, like, amazing, great game. I had really high expectations for it, and it didn't meet my expectations, and I really didn't like the ending. I don't know of The Last of Us 1.
I also didn't like the ending of Last of Us 1.
And I don't know, a lot of people really do, and they like that device. For some reason, I part of it is because I disagreed with the characters' choices, but also I just didn't think it makes sense. And I talked to some of my friends when I first played this game, and they're like, "Oh no, these choices makes total sense for this character in this context." So maybe it was just me projecting onto the character, thinking that they should make the choices that I would make. But I clearly didn't dislike it enough to not want to replay it. Yeah, I don't know. It was enjoyable to replay it.
Good story.
Good story.
Good acting and all that stuff.
Gameplay is decent. Not as good as Uncharted 4. I think this game came out after Uncharted 4.
No, this was before Uncharted 4.
It was before Uncharted 4. So between this and Uncharted 4, I think they made a bunch of improvements. So like Uncharted 4 is a way better game. And I think Last of Us Part 2 is also a better game, and that you could see that as they
progression.
And we'll talk about that when we get to Part 2. But yeah, don't regret playing this game. I think this is another one that just kind of lands in the B tier.
Yeah, probably.
Unceremoniously.
Low A, high B, probably.
I think I liked it more than Uncharted 3, which is definitely the most direct comparison.
Yeah, totally.
I think there, maybe below Outer Wilds. I don't know.
Sure.
Like there. The B tier is getting pretty fat now.
That's fine.
Maybe we'll be forced to cut some of these down to C tier just because of that. And like I've said this a few times, but like outside of the F tier, like none of these are bad games. Mm-hmm. Almost all of these games on this list so far, with the exception of the F tier games, are somebody's favorite game, right? And so these are games that have S tier possibility for some people depending on the situation. Like saying that, it almost makes me want to like trim down the B tier a little bit and like say, hey, if we're content with Tony Hawk being at the bottom, we can probably put these down here. Like I almost even think.
I don't know. I disagree.
You think Pikmin's? You think that's the line?
Probably.
But like I'm saying, C is not bad. Like it's not like I didn't enjoy these games. They just.
Fair enough.
I enjoyed these games just so much better than these games, right? Even within the B tier.
I'd almost put Uncharted 3 in the C tier. But
you think you like Pikmin 3?
Probably, yeah,
better?
Personally.
And that's fine. Like if Uncharted 2 was here, I'd probably put it in the like I did dislike this one so much better. And I think this makes sense.
Mario and Rabbids Kingdom Battle.
Yeah, so
this game is surprising.
Yeah, it was on sale because it's an Ubisoft game and not a Nintendo game. It actually went on sale.
Yeah. This is like Christmas time.
Yes, this was Christmas time
last year,
2020. After playing The Last of Us, you didn't want to play Last of Us 2, right? I know this tells me too much because Last of Us isn't that short of a game. It's not super long, but it's a heavy game.
It is a heavy game, yeah.
And so I was looking for another game to slot in there. And Mario vs. Rabbids is something I heard good things about. It was only $15 at the time. It's even good's gone on sale even cheaper since then. Yeah, turn-based Mario game. Weird.
It's a shooter.
Yeah, well, not a shooter,
whatever.
But
yeah,
with guns.
With guns.
With laser guns.
With laser guns.
So they're still pretty cartoony. This game's great.
Surprisingly good. Yeah.
Yeah, and I ended up buying the DLC. There's like a Donkey Kong DLC with it,
which was fun.
Yeah, great tactical gameplay. I'm not a Rabbids. Not that I'm not a Rabbids fan. I just never really interacted with the Rabbids IP before. Yeah. But it was now I have, and the Rabbids are funny. I like them.
Yeah, they were fun. Rabbid Peach is one of my favorite characters.
Yeah, and it was very faithful to the Mario IP while adding in interesting things. The gameplay was fun. There was a co-op mode that we tried a little bit. Wasn't super into it. Didn't really add much to the game that it was co-op. This was the first game. Was it the first game? I think it was that our daughter recognized Mario. Mm-hmm. So I played this a little bit when Maya was around, and she started seeing Mario and Donkey Kong when we played the Donkey Kong DLC. And now she loves all the Nintendo characters, and we have given her shirts and stuff.
That she wears faithfully every single week that it's washed.
Yeah.
She's obsessed. She loves them.
But yeah, highly would recommend this game. I think the concept kind of turns some people off. But I think if you read any reviews, I think the popular opinion, but this game actually is really good.
Yeah, it is really good. And like you said, it's very faithful to Mario. It has a fun little backstory that you can watch a YouTube video about.
Yeah. So is this A tier or just high B tier?
I think it's A tier. I think it's low A tier. Lower A tier.
There?
Yeah, probably.
Somewhere around.
I liked it more than Death Stranding. But again, I like Mario more than random games.
But it's not a Mario game, right? It's usually RP, but unlike the 3D All-Star games. One of the few games, I mean, this is true for the games in the A tier, have a feeling of sadness when it's over.
Yeah, I was sad when we were done playing it.
Got The Last of Us Part 2. Instantly, when we started playing Last of Us Part 2, it was clear that it was a much better game than Last of Us Part 1. I actually liked the story. I liked the twists. It's hard to talk about the story without getting into kind of spoiler territory. Right. Not that very many people are going to watch this. I think this game won Game of the Year. I mean, awards shows are crap, so whatever. But
very successful, very popular, very generally critically acclaimed. Fan sentiment, I think, was mixed.
Right. There's the whole thing with the plot leaking, and people didn't like the outline of the plot, which was total bullshit. But once the game actually got came out, there was review bombs of people being like, "Oh, this plot is dumb," who hadn't played the game. But everyone who played the game actually liked it because it was a good game.
Yeah, generally the plot is fine. I have some issues with character motivations and things, But again, I think that might be, back to what you said about Last of Us 1, me projecting my own choices onto the characters of like, I would never make that choice. That's dumb. Why are you making this choice? And my only other thing about this game is very violent. Not that the other ones aren't. Not that Last of Us 1 isn't. But, like, the difference, for example, when you, like, shit a zombie in 1 and 2... The 2 one, it's longer, it is more graphical, it's more bloody and gruesome, and I didn't really like that as much. It's a more brutal game.
The word I would use is visceral. Like,
yeah.
I actually think that added, like, flavor to the game. Like, it's not that I liked it, but it gave more, just more flavor.
It was too much. I just wish it was a less gratuitous.
I didn't think it was too much. I thought it was too much.
I thought it was too much, and I think it could have been okay if it had been done in strategic places.
I thought it was, but
it was every time. Every time you did a stealth kill.
Yeah, well, depending on the situation.
It had like a longer thing. Anyway, that's my main complaint with it.
Yeah, and like part of it is the NPCs have like personality, which is like very unique to a game. I don't like, even though it's kind of the like evolution of Uncharted 4. We both liked Uncharted 4 a lot more. I think at the end of the day, this doesn't quite make it into the Nintendo tier. It's weird seeing the Nintendo tier and Death Stranding being the only game up there. Not what I expected when we first started this.
Same.
I think this is kind of the top of the B tier, though. Do you think Red Dead Redemption is better?
I mean, I would put this below the original Last of Us.
Really? You liked it less than the original? I don't think you liked it less.
I liked the plot less, and that's mostly what I'm judging these games on.
Even though you said you didn't like the ending.
Again, I think you're taking my... I had an opinion about the plot and was very vocal about it as liking it. Yeah,
you did dislike the plot more than me. I think I'm gonna put it higher, even though
that's fine.
You might have put it better than the gameplay was just so miles ahead of the original Last of Us.
That's acceptable.
We established that JRPGs were Ashley's favorite genre. And I like playing them too, obviously. I was looking for what's the next JRPG in the line. I know there's so many JRPGs out there. And we will probably continue to play them. But Dragon Quest XI was a...
Excuse me?
Dragon Quest XI Echoes of Elusive Age... Or Dragon Quest XI S Echoes of Elusive Age Definitive Edition. Ridiculously long name. We made a joke of trying to always say... I messed it up the first time. Always say the full name of it because it's so long and ridiculous. Much more traditional than Persona 5 and...
it's a fantasy setting also.
It's medieval fantasy.
Right, where P5... and Final Fantasy are more urban fantasy.
Right. So we were initially worried about doing it, and it's another really long game. It's broken up into 3 distinct parts. I don't really care about spoiling the story here, but
because it's very basic.
There's the 3 parts are the first part of the game. You're kind of it feels like it's funny that you say it's really basic. I actually don't think it is, because the first part feels very basic.
Yes, it's a very basic hero fantasy story.
And you explore the world and
build up your party. You're trying to fight the big bad, and then you go fight the big bad.
Right, and then you lose at the end of the first part, which is kind of like the first twist of the game. In part 2, you have to, after the world is taken over by the bad guy, kind of start from nothing, rebuild your party, and then beat the big bad in part 2.
Right.
And then the credits roll at the end of part 2, and some people don't even realize there is a part 3.
Right.
Because if you reload the game up after you beat the boss in part 2, you realize that there's another looming evil, and you have to go back in time to prevent anything evil from ever happening to begin with, which was kind of an interesting twist. Ends up being really long over the things.
100 and something hours, 110 or 15.
We ended up doing all of the side quests in this game. Well, not all of them. There's a few of them that were really tedious and hard.
They're just whatever.
You didn't really need to grind in this game to play through it.
Until the very third act. That was the only time you ever had challenge.
Yeah, because the first act's really easy, the second act's kind of hard, and the third act gets much harder. But since we did all the side quests, it didn't really feel like grinding. Overall, I enjoyed the game. I think you enjoyed it a little less because the characters and story weren't up to your expectations from Final Fantasy and Persona.
Yeah.
But overall, I understand why this is in the top tier of JRPGs. I think for us, it lands in the B tier.
Yes, I would agree.
I want to say pretty high B tier, but maybe not. I don't know.
I'd put it under Zelda Link's Awakening. Sorry.
Put it under Link's Awakening. I think it's a fair place for it.
Yeah.
But after playing all these JRPGs, took a break. Just was checking on what was on sale on PS4 and mentioned that, or saw that Jedi Fallen Order was on sale. It was a game that I really had no intent of ever playing because it felt like it, just from what I remember the initial reviews, it felt like it wasn't that good of a game. But I saw it on sale and I checked the reviews again. And I was like, oh, maybe I'll give this a chance. I think I was also just soured by Star Wars because I hated all of the Star Wars movies that came out recently. In my heart of hearts, I do love Star Wars.
Sure. I was uninterested in this game, also despite really enjoying Star Wars, in part for that same reason, but also because, we're going to make an original Star Wars Jedi game, and we're going to make our main character a white dude. And I was just like, of all the things in the entire Star Wars canon that you have to play with, you just make your main character a friggin' boring-ass white dude. I was very frustrated with that. And I still am a little frustrated with that.
Yeah, to be devil's advocate there, the other main character is a black woman, so it's like a white dude and a black woman. But saying all these things about how much I hated Star Wars and didn't want to play this game, really enjoyed this game. Was surprised to buy this game, how much I liked it. I only bought it when it was on sale, but I was actually surprised. This game was actually really good. The biggest downside of it is that the performance was really bad.
We should say we do have an original PlayStation 4. So
right,
like we said, my dad gave us this PS4. He bought it like right when PS4s came out. So it's not a PS4 Pro. It's not one that came out recently. It's like an original ship PS4.
And while this is a pretty game, it isn't. I don't know, like
Final Fantasy VII ran better.
Right, and that's what I think is that it ran poorly for like probably no good reason. I think they were trying to force this out to line up with the movies, and so that probably didn't get as much optimization as it should. I think there's a PS5 patch coming out for it that supposedly fixes some of the bugs and stuff. I'm not going to go back and replay the game. But yeah, this game was a lot more like Dark Souls than I thought. I love Dark Souls. Sekiro is one of my favorite games of all time. And yeah, I really, really liked this game. If anything, I started with low expectations. I really enjoyed it as I was playing it, but then because of the performance issues and because the combat, there's so much it could have been. Like this could have been the best Star Wars game of all time, and some people still think it is, but I had like a roller coaster of emotions. Overall, beat my expectations. I hope that the makers of this game make a sequel to it. The story ended in a way such that it could. I think there's a lot of not that I really care for the characters very much, but the gameplay, evolving the gameplay, you really do feel like a Jedi. If you want to play a game that makes you feel like a Jedi, this is probably the best one. I can't think.
And the story is, with the exception of a small part at the end, that was very frustrating. It is like an original story. It told something different. It did something interesting. It wasn't just like, let's go hang out with C-3PO and Luke Skywalker. Like it was its own thing.
One thing that annoyed me about the story that I complained about when I was playing it over and over is that they introduced this like new Force-sensitive race that they imply like invented the Force or some stupid bullshit. And like, of course, this race is never mentioned in any other Star Wars. Like, they basically just invented it for this. And I hate when they do that in Star Wars, especially because they like this game is supposed to be canon.
Right.
And like, if this important race really existed, which is super important to the plot of this game, but is never mentioned in the movies, it's like, did you really have to do this? Did you like? They could have changed the plot to not just create this whole new thing that's super important, but is never mentioned in any other mainline movies, and probably won't be.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think they're gonna take this video game race and make it like they're probably gonna I'm so bitter about the decanonization of all the extended universe stuff. I wasn't even a fan of the extended universe. I was just like
bitter that it happened.
But yeah, I know we're bloating the B tier back up, but this is probably another B tier game. I don't know.
I'd put it above Dragon Quest or Detroit, probably.
Yeah, I think about there makes sense.
I mean, partially because it's Star Wars, and I just like that better than basic medieval fantasy plot.
Yeah, at this point, we were like totally out of games to play that were on sale. We like played all of the games on PS4 and Switch, and then I remembered that I never played the DLC for Breath of the Wild. So I actually played Breath of the Wild when it first came out. Loved it. One of my favorite games, if not my favorite game of all time. I beat it so fast the DLC never came out, and I never went back to play it with the DLC.
And you played it on the Wii U.
And I played it on the Wii U. Very bitterly, I really wanted to play it on the Switch, and they don't let you transfer it. So I had to rebuy it. But because I love this game so much, I was willing to rebuy it, plus the DLC. And I really don't like replaying games. I say that even though there's multiple games on this list that I replayed. Most of the games that are top tier, I mean, and then that's why I only will replay like my favorite games of all time. I don't know how it was for you, but it was just as good the second time for me. I really love this game.
Yeah, Breath of the Wild is a good game. It's not a game I think I would enjoy playing, just because I don't like that. I actually like the more linear Zelda, 3D Zelda style games than more open worldy ones. That's just not my deal, but it's a beautiful game. It's a good game. It's fun.
Yeah, and the first time I played this, I got all 120 shines. I did that again the second time. Wasn't interested in doing all the Quark seeds.
Yeah.
I know I let you play a little bit, and you did the Terrytown quest.
Yes, Terrytown's the best quest.
Probably the best quest, not just in the game, but almost in any game, any side quest.
Yeah.
And the music is great. The music, they have really dynamic music that like matches the emotions. I mean, so many people have talked about a lot about Breath of the Wild. Breath of the Wild's probably my favorite game. To me, it's easy S tier.
I would put it in A tier.
Actually, would put it in A tier.
But that can be your S tier. Just like Final Fantasy was my S tier.
Yeah, I'm gonna put it above Uncharted because I just think it's a better game than Uncharted.
That's fair enough.
And yeah, but the DLC was really good as well. So like, not only was it exciting to replay the entire game, but getting to the DLC was pretty cool as well. Yeah, really enjoyed this game. Easy S tier. I know it was a replay, kind of cheating, putting it in the S tier, replaying a game that I already was my favorite game of all time. But after playing Breath of the Wild,
and all the Marios.
All the Marios. It was kind of like, I want to play Mario again. We should replay Mario Odyssey. So we did already play Odyssey. That's why it's here. And
I played it, and you played it.
Oh yeah, you played it and beat it
for the first time.
The first time I played Mario Odyssey, I loved it so much. I 100%ed it.
I did not 100% it. I just played.
But this was replaying it after 100%ing it, and then I 100%ed it again.
Yes.
Because I loved it that much. I don't like it as much as Zelda. I know you like it more.
I do like it more.
Even though it basically has no story, which is funny. And Zelda actually does have a story. Because you say you're only watching it for the story, but it's the game too.
It is a little bit the game, but really Mario's the only thing that's like the game.
Yeah, and Mario Odyssey is just so good. Again, much like Zelda, it's like cheating, putting it in the S tier.
But that's where it belongs.
But yeah, it's so good. We started watching some speedruns for this as well. It's a really good speedrun game. Twitch streamers who speedrun it that we both really like. Breath of the Wild and Odyssey are just like two of my favorite games of all time. They're both on the Switch, and so it's just like, oh man, such a Nintendo stan. I know.
There, yes.
But you put it below Persona.
Yes.
I almost put it above Persona, but then they released 3D World / Bowser's Fury. I know this picture's kind of weird with both.
We played 3D World on the Wii U.
Yes,
when it came out.
We played it together.
And we played it together. We did not play together this time just because we couldn't have.
Right, and
also I'm really bad at this game. So.
Yeah.
We did play Bowser's Fury together, so we'll talk about that when we get to that part. But
yeah, and we played that first, right? Or we kind of played both.
We kind of played both, yeah, because we would play Bowser's Fury when our kid was asleep.
And I heard really, really good reviews about Bowser's Fury. Video Game Donkey on YouTube put a review of it, and he said something that was really poignant to me, which is that Bowser's Fury will probably be the best game of 2021. He's also a Nintendo fan, just like us.
He's right.
He's right. Like Bowser's Fury is just so good. It's another evolution of 3D Mario games, which are just so great. After playing all the Mario games, just wanted more Mario, and so I bought this to play Bowser's Fury, and then I also just replayed 3D Land and got all of the stars again. Just, oh my gosh, more Mario. Don't regret it at all.
Yeah, 100%. The only thing you didn't do was replay the entire game with all the characters. Yes. But you did everything else.
But I did everything else.
All the gold pulls, all the stamps, all the stars.
And it was great. And it's it's not an S tier game. It's not as good.
It's the top of the A tier though.
You'd put it top of the A tier just because Bowser's Fury was so good.
3D World is really good.
Yeah, 3D World's really good.
It's at the very least, it's above Galaxy 2. I think it's above Sunshine. I could argue that it's below Luigi's Mansion 3 for us specifically because of the co-op.
But Bowser's Fury was so good.
Bowser's Fury was really good. I will say the co-op so you can co-op play Bowser's Fury. The co-op is sort of whatever. It's a better girlfriend controller because you play as Bowser Jr., which isn't a spoiler.
Yeah, and you can attack and stuff.
You can attack and stuff, but it's not as good as Luigi's Mansion 3 is for co-op. But it is a step above the Galaxy co-op.
And this one has the best music of any of
very good music.
It has the Bowser's
Circus
theme,
Castle
which is so
thing.
good.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think top of the A tier. It's not quite S tier, but
no, but it's better. Yeah.
So I think that's fair. And then
Ratchet Clank.
Yeah,
it was free.
Ratchet Clank was given out for free to everyone who has a PS4.
This isn't the original one from the PS2. This is the movie tie-in one.
Yeah, the movie tie-in one. I think
is worth.
Which is not a remake, not a remaster, a reboot.
Yes.
And this game is so beautiful, much like much like I know you didn't appreciate the visuals as much because you weren't paying attention because the story was kind of all over the place.
Yeah, because they very clearly were just like using movie clips instead of
they use movie clips as cutscenes, which is really
instead
weird.
of like trying to make the story. So there's always like holes and stuff. It was very weird.
Yeah, like gameplay wise and visual wise, actually a pretty good game. Wouldn't have played it if it wasn't free. But I enjoyed myself. I guess there's like some collectibles that I didn't really bother collecting. Yeah. Pretty short game.
Yeah, just pretty short.
But enjoyable. They've just started, because we're early in the PS5 cycle. The Rift Apart hasn't come out yet, which is the next Ratchet Clank game. I think that's why they released this for free, is so that people would be hyped for the next one. I'll play the next one. Like, I wasn't turned off by this game. No, I won't buy it.
No, obviously not full price, but
yeah,
I wouldn't have played the next one.
If the next one has good reviews, if it has bad reviews, I'm not gonna definitely play it no matter what, right? And that's kind of my philosophy about any of these games. But I enjoyed it enough. The story was frustratingly bad.
Yeah. Which is unfortunate because I played part of this game on PS2 and like it was a good story on PS2.
Yeah, they had a good story, and I bet the movie's even good, but they just tried to like have this weird.
They clearly were like making this game on a budget,
right? To
be a movie tie-in game.
Not on a budget, but on a timeline where like it has...
that, and also I think that's why they reused the cutscenes and stuff from the movie instead of like rendering some additional stuff to make the plot make sense. They just like we're just using the movie and nothing else.
I don't think it was a budget problem. It felt just like a direction problem where just like whoever was putting this together just like thought it was going to make a lot more sense than it did. I think this puts this in the C tier. I want to put it in the high C tier though. Like I don't know.
I think it's above.
Like there?
Yeah, like there, or maybe below Automata. No, I think above Automata. Sorry,
that is below Automata. But
I think it's below Automata.
Yeah, I enjoyed this game. Looking forward to the next one being better.
Hopefully, yeah.
Ghost of Tsushima finally went on sale. This is a game that I wanted to play for a long time, and then it finally went on sale because it's a newer game. I kind of held off on this because I didn't expect to like this game that much because I knew it didn't do anything too interesting or revolutionary. It was just kind of
and it doesn't
generic open world game, and I knew I wasn't gonna like it as much as Breath of the Wild. I was nervous that it was just gonna be the open world's gonna be boring, but the combat was really good, and that's what I thought was gonna be good, and the story was fine, not bad. I can't like say anything too bad about the story, but I can't really say anything too good about it either.
Yeah. It's a beautiful game.
Yeah, I didn't. You thought it was more beautiful than I did, but I did like going to all the different things, writing the haikus, taking baths. Mm-hmm. So I didn't 100% it because there's like tedious collectibles to find, but I did explore all of the locations in the world. The world isn't too big. I did it fine. The big thing that shines about this game is that it's well polished game, really good voice acting and animations and such.
I like the main character a lot.
Yeah, the characters were good. The main character is good, and really good combat, really good gameplay above all else. That's really why I like Mario games, is because the games are just fun. This game was fun, but it didn't have enough for me to really bump it up to one of my favorite games. But really, really good, solid B tier game. Probably, I don't know. What do you think? Definitely above Jedi. I'd say
it's below Zelda, I think.
You think?
I mean, I would put it lower than you're putting it, but again, I didn't play it, so.
Interesting. I thought you liked it, though. I don't know.
No, I did like it, but like I liked the story.
Did you like Jedi more?
I did like Jedi more, but that's like I think because it's Star Wars.
I think that's fair. I can put it there.
I think that's probably right.
I know I'm overrating Last of Us 2 as well. I should probably put that was over.
Yeah, you were.
Now there's like so many games between the Zeldas. I don't know if that's right.
You can put the Zeldas up.
I don't know. Shuffling these around. Yeah, that's why there's tiers. They're trying to order them within the tiers. But so let's talk about Persona 5 Strikers.
Yeah, interesting game. So Persona 5 came out in Japan, and then Persona 5 Scramblers, which is the Japanese version of this game.
Scramble.
Yeah, Scramble came out, and then Persona 5 Royale came out. So that was how it came out in Japan. In America, it was Persona 5 Royale, and then Persona 5 Scramble, which we called Strikers in America because that makes more sense. It is not a JRPG. It's a...
It is.
Well, it's not a JRPG.
It's not turn-based.
It's not a turn-based JRPG. It's like the combat is very different than what it was in Persona 5, so like don't go and expect that. It's all the same characters. It's basically Persona 5 2.
Yeah, it's exactly what it is.
Without the Royale characters.
Yeah.
Because of how it came out in Japan. So it's weird in America, but it kind of made sense in Japan.
Yeah, it's kind of a weird game to review just because There's no point in playing this game if you haven't played Persona 5.
Yeah, definitely.
If you played Persona 5 and you liked it, you should definitely play this game.
Yes.
We kind of held off on playing it because it just, even though it had come out in Japan a long time ago,
it just came out in America.
Just came out in North America
last month.
But it went on sale for $40, and it's too expensive for most games. But we just loved Persona 5 so much, and this game being basically a direct sequel, though awkwardly not having the like extra Royale stuff. But yeah, I really liked this game. The story was just as good.
Yeah.
The gameplay was slightly worse.
Yeah.
And the story was also slightly worse because Royale was so much better. The calendar system where you have like actions that you can do to grow your character in only certain amount of time wasn't there, and that was something I really liked.
Mm-hmm.
So they kind of took some things in, and the things they added back in weren't as good.
And some of the writing, which are some of the characters, they like amped them up a little bit. They made them a little bit more extreme, which was fine because it was very
normal. Like the new Yusuke and Futaba like personalities were good in my opinion. I would put this in A tier. I don't know.
It's an A tier game.
Just because the story was so good.
Probably. Yeah, that's really what it is. Like the combat's kind of whatever.
Right, but the combat didn't like detract from it. I would put it below Death Stranding. Death Stranding I think is above it for me just because
I think so.
It's Death Stranding did something interesting. This game doesn't do anything interesting.
No.
But it's just really good, solid JRPG.
And they captured Persona 5.
And
they've made a lot. This company, the company that makes these games, they make it for a lot of different ones. Like they made one for Breath of the Wild, Zelda, the Hyrule Warriors and stuff. You know, it's the same type of game, but they do the stories from the various things. They very clearly captured Persona 5 in this game.
Right. I agree. If you played Persona 5, highly...
you should play this one.
Play this one.
Play Strikers.
Game I literally just beat this morning. Before we get the last game I'll beat before we get our PS5, Ori and the Blind Forest, first one. Somehow I just missed this game. I thought it was just going to be a cutesy game.
Kind of like Journey, I remember. We were like, oh, it's just going to be an artsy game. Because it is a very pretty game.
But this game's hard. It was hard.
You died like 500 times.
Right, which is kind of how the game is designed. Is that because you can die and come back really fast, and there isn't like a load screen between each death. The games that it's most similar to, which I didn't realize, I didn't really look into this game very much, is Celeste and Hollow Knight. Also, this game isn't indie because it's made by Microsoft, but both Celeste and Hollow Knight are indie games. If you like either of those games and you haven't played this game, you really should, and I really should have earlier. And finally, I got around to it now because I was looking for a shorter game to play as I wait the last few days for my PS5. And I know this game's fresh off on my mind, but this game was really fun.
It's fine. As a secondary player, like there's a story, but it's it's not about the story. It's about playing the game, and it's a pretty game. But
right, and it's hard to talk about this game without saying the word Metroidvania, right? Where you the very typical Metroidvania, just like Hollow Knight. I'd say this game's very, very similar to Hollow Knight. You start out kind of useless, and the game's kind of frustrating at first, but that's part of the gameplay loop. Is that as you get new abilities, it becomes less and less frustrating because you get to do cooler and cooler things until you're in like the final level and you're just like totally kicking ass, which is a good feeling. I think this game deserves all the praise that it gets. It's a highly praised game, especially because it's a few years old now, and a new one came out last year or something. And I do definitely plan on playing that once I get it on sale sometime, or I'm looking for a game to play because I know it's not that expensive of a game. But yeah, I'd say it's a solid B tier game, and nothing about it. Maybe I'll like the next one more to maybe bring up to the A tier. I've tried to be very strict on this list to not give too many things A tier that aren't games that I really loved, and not give S tier unless they're like really like. Again, I wouldn't put Final Fantasy VII, but anyways, I'm getting ahead of myself. I would say this is.
I'm gonna let you do this one because I have no opinion.
You have no opinion? Wow.
I mean, I didn't. Like I said, I think this is about playing the game and not about other pieces of it. I didn't really pay attention. So.
You did. There just wasn't that much story, and the game was short.
Yeah, it's a short game. There wasn't that much to pay attention to.
I would put it probably here.
You like that more than I thought?
No, yeah, I think in retrospect it's a game. It's you probably thought I didn't like it very much because I was frustrated by it when I was playing it because it is a hard game. But like as much as I am mad at the game, at hard games when I play them, they are fun. But yeah, there we are. There is our tier list.
Is Heavy Rain worse than Kingdom Hearts 3? Yes, it is. Okay, that's the only thing I had to.
I mean, yeah, F tier's pretty bad, but Yeah, I'm excited about getting the PS5 and going on to our next generation of games. Maybe we'll make this like a yearly thing. This was a little overdue, but since we had the PS5, we had a good ending to it. I have no idea who, if anybody, is going to watch this.
I mean, literally no one is, but thank you if you
thank
did.
you if you did, and
hopefully it was interesting.
We'd love to hear your feedback or thoughts on any of these games, or if you have any suggestions. I know there's a lot of games that you might expect to be here. I've probably already played them if they're early games, but I would still like those suggestions. But yeah, I think that's it.
Thanks.
High five. Let's see if we can hear it. There we go.